Educating, informing, serving. Hvac TV, keeping government honest.
I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Bellas Falls Union High School, November 29th. Before we start, I would like to formally apologize for my reaction in leaving the supervisory board meeting last week. After speaking to other board members and the principal, perhaps Mr. Broadley and I could meet with Mr. Reed in the future to discuss what is taught at the high school and to listen to comments. Thank you. Any adjustments to the agenda?
I don't have any.
Okay. Review and approve board minutes of November 8th. Anybody got anything they need to change?
I've got two.
We're ready.
Okay, at the end of the principal's report, we discussed attendance for the fall 2019 and as a comparison to 2021. There were 883 students in absent days in 2019 to the same period that there were 261 in 2021. Well, 2019 attendance was at 92.6%. In this year, 2021, attendance is at 97.4%. Reflecting, I think, that our students really want to be here, and so they're really trying to have good attendance, which is a good thing, because when we were looking at COVID, we thought it would be down.
That's good.
That was one thing that was adjusted. The other thing that I need adjusted is at the end of number 7, right before the new business, I commented that the original motion to accept the Haber grant was made by David Clark and indicated that funds would be used for financial literacy, online courses that help a student progress toward a diploma, the study of economics, and the study of science. As a matter of record. So with that in mind, we needed to realize that that's where our funding was to go. And so we do have a plan for that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Can we have a motion to accept the minutes as adjusted?
This is Margot. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Thank you. We're gonna make a roll call. David Clark,
Yes.
Margot,
Yes.
Ian,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
I've got everybody that's on there. I don't know who he is.
I don't know who,
Is it Dion?
I don't know who B Citizen is, and I don't know who Dave is.
Okay. Brenda,
Yes.
Jason.
Yes.
Priscilla,
Yes.
we got 7 yeses. Minutes are passed. Any communication or public comments? Any hands up?
I don't see any hands up.
Me neither. Anyone in the room? Looks like there is none. Policies?
We had 2 policies, but since they're not on here, we had the policy on special education that was posted and I think sent out. If the board wants to vote on that, we probably could vote on it tonight, or we can put it off till next meeting. The other policy we definitely need to put off till next meeting, which was the one I read last time about the recognizing the teachers.
Okay. So Nicole sent us something.
So, both of them, I think.
Okay. What's your pleasure?
What is
You
it?
wanna wait and do it so that we've all read this over and it's on the,
We had to have 10 days between the last meeting and this one, so the public could comment. But I'm feeling like maybe we need to possibly give them time. If you're comfortable with it, we read it at the meeting and they could have commented, so, and it was posted. The special ed one in particular was posted.
okay, so if it was posted, then,
Andy, I'm right on that, okay?
Yes.
Yes,
so if it was posted, we can,
we can,
We've done our first
make up,
read.
yes.
and so now we are
we can approve it.
approve it, okay?
We
Do
only
you have the
30
policy
days.
to read it? Put me on the spot a little bit,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
sorry, I don't have it brought up.
Right here if you want it, so.
Do you have it? Okay, great, thank you. Do you want me to read the whole thing or just the changes?
Just the changes,
Okay.
so it's called special ed,
It's special ed, it's gonna be under, it's D7 in the, Vermont, principals,
School board
school board,
association.
recommendation for their, it was G11 for us. We simply took our policy and moved it over and added the couple paragraphs that they were recommended in theirs, which were the agency of education as the state education agency is responsible for the overall provisions of a free, appropriate public education to eligible Vermont students with disabilities and does this through the implementation of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. The Wyndham Northeast Supervisory Union District will use the guidelines developed by the Vermont Agency of Education in its most current edition of the Vermont Special Education Procedures and Practices Manual regarding special education issues. The manual is designed to assist Vermont school districts in understanding the provisions of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Improvement Act and meeting its requirements. The manual can be found on the Vermont Agency of Education's website. All the rest of it remains the same. It can be viewed at the supervisory union office as well, and in the book that we have there. Are there any questions?
anyone have any questions on that policy? Okay, let's get a motion,
I make a motion that we accept the special education code D7 policy and place it in our manual.
is there any more discussion? Then we're gonna do a roll call, David? I can't hear you,
Yes.
thank you. Margot,
Yes,
Ian,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Brenda,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
and Priscilla.
Yes.
Motion passes to accept the special ed code D7 policy. And we will have, we'll get that other policy on next
To the
agenda.
next one. Do you want me to read that one again?
If you'd like to, might get it in everybody's heads.
The other policy is, it is the policy of the Bellows Falls Union High School Board to recognize, congratulate, and extend appreciation to the staff for their devoted service to the students, families, and staff at BFUHS. The Bellows Falls Union High School Administration will establish a procedure for recognizing staff members for their service.
So we will act on that at our next meeting. We are at reports, and Mr. Broadley, you're up.
Okay, mine's shorter than normal.
which is probably good. However, first I want to report on the fall sports season, and namely our last team to finish playing on November 13th was our undefeated football team. They successfully wrapped up their season by winning the D2 state championship in Rutland. They defeated MAU 57-35, and we're never in doubt. We will do a banner raising in the winter time at some time, and we will let community know when that is, and we may film it as opposed to filling the gym up. However, that more to follow on that one. I put in the statistics that I read, and really for me that was some football teams and some teams in general have, can have a really good quarterback or a really good individual. I put this in because when you look at, Mr. Loba, 22 carries, Mr. Monnier, 11 carries, Mr. Terry, 7 carries, and 76 yards. The quarterback is awesome. Harrison, 45 carries. Caden Haskell, 3 carries. Jamison Nystrom, a 3-yard TD pass on that little flea flicker that we caught him off guard by. Max Hook, 39-yard touchdown. This is a team that these kids are amazing when they're in the building, when they're here, young men, as just young men. I guess for me, the big point was it took everybody. There was no just one individual person, and the charisma of these guys, and I can't say enough. And I get to see them every day, so that also helps in other areas. And you know what? They're the same in the hallways as they are on the football field. Well, they don't wear helmets, but it's just amazing. I was very proud to be there that day. Number 2, on NEAS visit, we had a collaborative conference. It went extremely well. The 5 people that came were 4 teachers and a principal from other schools, 2 in Vermont and 3 in New Hampshire. They were very complimentary to our whole school, and we should get the report back hopefully before the Christmas break. The one strong thing, and really when they did my debrief at the end of the second day, was it was very clear to them by talking to all stakeholders that they talked to that the strongest part of us and our school was that we have a very safe, caring culture throughout. I said, okay, stop there, that's good. That's all I want to hear, because it was phenomenal. It just made me feel, again, proud to do what I'm doing. And I will get that report out to all board members as soon as I get it. I'll get it out to you. I promise not to sit on it for months and months. I'll get it right out to you. I really do, because I'm proud of what we do here. Our COVID update, again, our official vaccination rate, we're working on strategies to try and get these cards shown to us, given to us. We are up to 46.8, 146 out of 312. Hopefully we'll get it up as high as it is. But we want to check the cards and make sure it's official. Winter sports, they began today. We've got boys and girls basketball and a strong indoor track as well. We've got about 80 to 85 kids signed up for winter activities, which is excellent. The more we keep them involved, the more we keep them doing stuff, keep their minds active, it's phenomenal. So, and then I just put in the budget and HVAC. We had previous meetings that we discussed those earlier, and I think there's a little bit to follow later in the meeting. So, thank you all.
Thank you. It's nice to hear those numbers are up on the cards.
Molly, can I have a question?
Absolutely.
Mr. Brother,
Yeah.
thank you, Molly, and Mr. Brother, thank you for the update. Just like to echo, I went to the Purple Pride when Coach Lockerbie spoke about the football team, and he spoke about, and to touch on what you said, how unselfish every one of those kids were, and I've had the pleasure of knowing them all since they were, tiny kids, and one of those kids, he's an 18-year-old adult now, so I'm proud of him. And, that was pretty cool to hear how he spoke glowingly about how unselfish they were, and each one of those kids, could be, a superstar on any team. And, it's really something to see how well they've, gelled together over the years. And I think they're more than, all these kids are really going to be very successful as they get older. And that's the important thing. Football is never really about football. It's about learning how to, pull together as a team and to, never give up and all that kind of stuff, because football is a tough sport. So I thought that was pretty cool. And that's a testament to, all the education they've gotten in our school system as well. So, thank you all for that. On the NIAS thing, I went to that, and Priscilla was there with me, and I just wish more board members were able to either get out of work and attend those things, or to do those things, because it's important. And I feel that my role is not just to come here in a weekly meeting or a monthly meeting or whenever they are, but we need to actively be involved with the school and help, and I think that's really important. So I thought that was a pretty good day, and didn't take very long, and I think that went pretty well. So I think that the people that spoke represented the school pretty well. I think I did, and I know Priscilla did, as she always does. So I had a couple more things on the COVID update. How did you go from 20+% the last time we met to 46.8? What exactly did you do?
The biggest support was, well, two things: having some positive cases and being able to contact individuals, which I did help the nurse quite a lot on doing that, and Sean did too. We were able to reach out to parents and say, look, can you send us a copy, whether it's email, whether your kid comes in and shows us it, shows the nurse your card. We just want to see, so we can verify that you are vaccinated, because it's important to our school as we deal with this, this ongoing event. So I think that is the major one. And then the nurse has been reaching out to people individually, and I've been getting, as we add them to our folder with the cards in them, as she deals with individual kids, she keeps reaching out as well. So it was no real wave of anything. It's just been ongoing, and we plead all the time. I know I've been talking to Superintendent Haas as well about another strategy that he'd like to get involved in. I think it's great for him to be involved with the school too, as you say, get people more involved with the school. He's going to come in and talk to student council and see if they can come up with some ideas of how we can get more, so that we get a true reflection of where we're at.
That's great. And the last thing, about winter sports, it's always been kind of, Molly, you could maybe help me out with this a little bit. It seems football and has always been like the dominant sport here, and then track is always, Mr. Eno, Mr. Ferentz, we win a lot. And, field hockey, geez, they're amazing. Coaches are amazing, and they're great. But winter sports always is kind of like the in-between. And I think, and I'd like you to think about this, and, I really want to support the winter sports, this year and beyond. And one thing I think that they could use is a shooting machine, something to look at budget-wise, or raise private funds or something. But that'll help the kids, tremendously, improve their game. So it's not cheap, but it's not super expensive either. But just something to let the kids know that, hey, this is important also. So thank you.
Thank you.
Also on your football team, with what we had, 6 that were on the team. And the South won this year, which has been a long time coming. We haven't done that lately. And then our coach, Lockerbie, got Division II coach. I mean, our school is amazing, so we just really appreciate all you do and that all your staff does to help our students.
Never a prouder moment when you see our kids do well, and even from my perspective, leaving the football game and seeing kids with their families, and even having a moment to fist bump some kids and not wanting to take them away from, because they deserve to celebrate, but it just, I enjoy it because I want the kids to see that we care. And I'm also lucky in school that I get to see them every day. And, you see the full side of the kid, and there's a lot of lovely things going on in school that just make you feel proud.
It was nice to see you, Mr. Murphy, there. Mr. Haas was there a couple of times. A lot of the administration is there. It's really nice to see. So thank you all for that.
Yeah, that's how good.
So I totally agree with you, Jason. I do think that it's very important that board members, we're not just board members, we get involved in the school, we do things, we participate in things, and, I think that it's very important. I very much want to participate in that. 9 o'clock on a Monday morning was tough for me to get at work, but, and maybe we can, look at different times next time, sometime when there's things you want a board member to be a part of, because I certainly would participate in those.
Well, 2 years we'll have our decennial,
Okay.
so I'll get plenty of warning on that one. So.
9 a.m. on Tuesday.
Tuesday's
No,
better than Monday.
I'll see if they'll do it at 6 p.m.
I'll be voted out by then.
No.
Positive thinking.
Anyone else have any questions for Mr. Bradley before we move on? Looks like it's clear.
Yep.
So we are on to business office. Is Flora here?
She is.
Yes, I am. So we have auditors in-house again. Hopefully we'll be able to finish the audits and wrap up this week. They'll be here till Friday. We have a new employee in the business office. His name is James. He'll be helping with payroll and AP. And we have a new position available in the business office as well. We're looking for a financial accountant. Shauna is leaving, and we're sad to see her go. So that's right now the changes that we're having in the office. And we're still working on budgets. Hopefully we'll be able to wrap everything up by the end of this week as well.
Any questions for Flora?
Okay,
Go ahead.
if I could just add on with the auditors, what I've asked them to do is to focus on getting reports back to the different boards at their next board meeting. So their first focus right now is on the SU, and then it'll roll. So what I've tasked them to do is to have their finalized report to you by your next board meeting in December here. So.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we're gonna move on to committees. We have building and grounds update. We don't have much of an update, do we, John? We just had a brief little talk with Michael Sullivan and Glenn Thomas. We have a building and grounds committee meeting Thursday at,
We postponed that
I
to
think
next Tuesday
oh,
to provide more opportunity for getting into the
okay,
the
so.
reports.
Sorry about that. We have one scheduled for next Tuesday. It's hard for me to keep up with all of our emails sometimes. Next Tuesday would be the 7th of December. at 6 or 6:30?
That is up to you, Madam Chair.
About 6 o'clock. So next Building and Grounds Committee meeting is going to be December 7th at 6 o'clock, and we will have more to follow. Does anyone have anything they'd like to talk about at Building and Grounds before the meeting? Go ahead,
Yeah,
John.
just a quick one. My plan, as I spoke with both engineers, is to send out a Google form to all the board so that if you have any questions, comments, inquiries, if we put it all on one form, then I can collate all the questions and make sure both engineers have them. If we could get it done by Friday, that would be great, because then I can give it to them over the weekend, and then when we come back together on Tuesday, hopefully they'll answer. It'll just streamline the process and make it better. And then hopefully that'll lead us into writing a very good RFP and get that out to as big an audience as we can, and then get the right people in to do the right job. So,
Okay, thank
Thank you.
you. We got an others committee. I was gonna say budget, but I see we've got a budget discussion under unfinished business, so we'll talk about what we just learned in our budget meeting under 7. So our next is unfinished business. I believe that David Clark may like to speak to this. A motion to formally join Coalition for Vermont Student Equity.
Well, all right then. I'm going to put a motion on the floor, and I would like to speak to my motion. Coalition for Vermont Student Equity has been working diligently to convince the Vermont legislature to adjust the weighting formula, which is used to determine how much support a kid with, shall we say, certain disabilities may require. Interesting thing about the weighting formula is it wouldn't actually change the overall taxation, just simply how we would allocate it to kids. However, the legislature did appoint a task force that appears to have little actual interest in the weighting formula that their Blue Ribbon Commission recommended, and furthermore would actually like to block grant ELL, which I still think of as English as a second language program. And what I will point out to you about that is block grants do, in fact, increase taxation. And they also have a nasty habit of disappearing, as towns which had been dependent on the small schools grants for part of their operating expenses are very, very well aware. There is a question of whether it does, in fact, if that proposal is serious, create sort of a double standard in Vermont, where we have one standard of reimbursing school districts for their expenses on poor white kids, and another standard that we would use to reimburse schools which have minority kids who need extra support. Be that what it may, it's still very much a moving picture. I guess I'm ahead of my motion here a little bit, but in terms of what specifically the efforts of the Coalition for Vermont Student Equity have accomplished so far, I will point out this. For fiscal year 2021, Bellows Falls Union High School sent $321,135.36 up to Montpelier in excess spending penalty. In fiscal year 21-22, which is the year we're operating in now, we would have been looking at an excess spending penalty of $176.38. That's 176.38. That's what your $5,280 contribution bought you. And now we're asking for a little bit more, which is to have the high school formally join the coalition. And therefore, I would like to put a motion on the floor that Bellows Falls Union High School join the Coalition for Vermont Student Equity. And with that, I will cede the floor, Molly.
Thank you. Anyone have a question? I have a question. What does that mean to us? We have already given to this. Is there a financial, something we need to, we're gonna be a part of every year, or we need to give money each year? What does it mean to us? I understand now finally what this coalition is. I understand what you're doing. I guess I kind of thought that maybe we were part of their team when we gave them money. So what does it mean, David? What does it mean for our future, other than I totally understand why you're doing it and the spending of the excess money?
It means more leverage when we're trying to press our case in the Vermont legislature that this is a topic which very much matters to school districts. It would be very nice if Union Elementary and Rockport would also join the coalition. And the coalition has accepted members who have not ponied up any money at all. They're really two, in a manner of speaking, separate tracks, Molly. One is that in order to sustain the work of a lobbyist who's managed to get this high school out from under a $230,000 tax penalty for this fiscal year we're in, it means that we also have the proverbial strength in numbers. Certainly, the other boards in this district could join it, not pony up a penny, although I would encourage them to consider the value of the money spent, because ultimately what we're talking about here is trying to prevent the Wyndham Northeast Supervisory Union taxpayers from looking at a direct hit of around $1 million in taxation if an unadjusted weighting formula as enacted in 173 comes to pass. It's a big, big hit.
Okay, so it is. So it means it's numbers. You're looking for the more schools, the more districts that you can get to sign up for this. When you go to Montpelier, you can show them you got 85% of the state to be part of this. So, you know, that makes them look at it more.
But there are two things that make them look at it, Molly. One is the size of the coalition, and the other is the effectiveness with which the coalition is able to negotiate in the legislature. The size of the coalition is entirely dependent upon districts joining. The effectiveness we have in negotiating with the legislature is really based on the expenditure of money for skilled lobbying.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I knew what I was doing. Anybody else got any questions? Jason, I can tell you do.
No.
Okay. Ian.
Yeah, David, can you tell us what other districts have already signed up? If there are other neighbors that have participated in this already?
Well, the closest one, I believe, is Wyndham Southeast. I would actually have to go to the website, which is cvtse.org, in order to give you the complete list. And I will say that there is quite a bit of information up there, and it is kept current. So it's a very useful resource.
David, you said CVTS?
CVTSE, Vermont Coalition for Student Equity.org. CVTSE.org.
Thank you. Any other questions before we go to vote? Any hands up? I don't see any.
I don't see any.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion on the floor to join the Coalition for Vermont Student Equity. We're going to take a roll call. David?
Abstention.
Margot?
Yes,
Ian? Can't hear you, Ian. Still can't.
Thumbs up or down, Ian?
Thank you.
Thumb up, we'll take it as a yes.
Deb?
Based upon the recent material I've been reading from Becca Ballant in the state senate, I say aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Priscilla? Okay, we are now a member of the Coalition for Vermont Student Equity. Thank you. Masking policy. Mr. Broadley, can you speak to masking policy?
Well, we're following the state guidelines for masking. Right now, the latest one that I'm aware of is January 22nd, which may change. That was all that I was aware of.
Right now, everyone is masking in the school.
Yeah, masking in school. And when they go outside, they take the mask.
And in buses, they are masking.
Masking.
That's a federal.
Yeah.
Okay.
We are also requiring athletics for participants to be wearing a mask during events, which we know is not ideal, but I think given the uptick in cases right now is precautionary for that. I think as John reported, we are at 46, almost 47% right now. So at 80%, what we've been told is that students, and staff will not be mandated to wear masks. So.
Jason?
I'd like to make a motion on this. I am impressed that you went from 20-something percent to 46.8. And I really think that, actually we're better than that. So I'm gonna put a little pressure on you, right? My motion is to direct administration to create a plan to achieve 80% vaccination status by the next board meeting, whenever that is,
Tomorrow?
No, the next.
I'll do my best.
Whenever the next high school board meeting is, or create a safety plan to allow for unmasked learning. And I like to speak to that. My goal is, to.
So let me just put the motion on the floor. There is a motion on the floor to get 80% of staff and students vaccinated by the next school board meeting.
No, is to create a plan to achieve 80% vaccination status by the next board meeting. Or create a safety plan to allow for unmasked learning.
Okay.
So what I'd like to speak to that is I believe that our numbers are better. And I am not for, I said it all along, I am not for making somebody do something they don't want to do. But I am for, we've been talking about this for months. And I think we just need to really put the pressure on to make those phone calls to get those cards in. So we know where we're at, basically. If we know where we're at, if we know we're definitely 77%, okay, I can live with that. It's not about necessarily masking either way for me. It's about knowing where we're at so we can improve it so that hopefully we can reach, the goal of unmasked, because I think, I don't think this thing's ever gonna go away. So I just wanna, like I said, I just wanna put a little pressure on to do what we've been asking for months now. So what are the numbers? So we can stop asking about it and move on.
Can I just
John?
answer that? I'm all for reaching 100% if we can get it. I know that's a long shot. I believe that the higher the percentage we have, that it benefits our students by allowing them to stay in school and be educated. I just want to be clear that we're not looking to reach the 80% just so we can work the masks off, because I think that would be unsafe as well at this time. But again, I'm all for going after 100% for achieving a high vaccination rate. We'll do our best to get it as high as we can get it. If that means even phoning every parent and reasoning with them to get their cards, I'll be happy to do that.
Anyone else? Andy?
If I could just ask Mr. Terry, when you say a safety plan for unmasked learning, and you may not have an answer, because I'm trying to wrap my head around what would that look like, and I'm thinking of the current guidelines, but also of upticks that if come January 18th, that we have an extension of a mask mandate or a mask guidance, sorry, not mandate, guidance. So I'm just trying to conceptualize a safety, when you're asking about creating a safety plan for unmasked learning, so that I just have some direction to work with John.
I think what we need to do first is by the next meeting to see where we're at, and then we'll see where we're at, and then we can decide as a group what's the best course of action. I would like to know what the real number is and stop asking all the time, because that puts you in a negative light in the newspaper. Nobody wants that, and I really do think we're better than we are, and I believe you.
I do too.
And so I just ask that we make this a priority, and that's all.
Yeah. And I agree with you also that I think the numbers are higher. We just got to get the cards in. So, thank you.
And if we put it like that, maybe that'll, hey, this is really important. That's all. Thank you.
Priscilla?
Well, we've had 3 weeks from the last meeting to this meeting, and actually the numbers at the last meeting were 30.1%. So we've gone to 46.8%. So if we can get that 16.7% increase next time, we will be up in the 60s. So that would be a really good thing if we can just get that increase each time.
Absolutely. I mean, any numbers we go up, continue to improve. I think what Mr. Terry is saying is let's really hone in on that and make it something that we can, because once you get the cards in, we don't need to do it again, because they have them. So, and that will stop us being annoying to parents asking them for them all the
It
time.
makes your nurse's job easier.
Yes, it does, without a doubt.
I'll do a lot of different things for you. Test to stay, whatever, test to stay, all that stuff. Make your life easier. Try to help.
Anyone else? Anyone out in cyber world? I see nothing. There is a motion on the floor to create a plan for 80% of staff and students to be vaccinated, to have the cards in the school. or a safety plan for unmasked learning. Did I get that? You want to do a roll call, David?
Yes.
Margot?
Abstain.
Ian?
No.
Deb?
Abstain.
Brenda?
Abstain.
Jason?
Yes.
Priscilla?
Abstain. To decide. It's up to you.
So right now I have 2 yes, 1 no, and 1, 2, 3, 4 abstain. Yeah, I'm gonna say no today. So we have 2 no's and 2 yeses and 4 abstained. Motion fails. I'd just like to speak to that for a minute. I totally understand where Jason is coming from. And John, I'd like you to work on it, but you said something that kind of clicked. That I'm afraid that if we really spoke about this, that even if we get 100%, it sounds like that you or your staff is not a fan of taking the masks off, and I don't want to get to that 80% and then find out that it's not going to happen anyways. So if you'll just work on, I'm not looking for a response. That's what I heard. And I think by next meeting, maybe we need to at least have that discussion. Let's get the reality out there so that we know where we're at. Thank you.
Thank you, Mom.
Thank you. So next thing is budget discussion. We had a budget meeting before our building and grounds presentations. I don't know, as we got through a few things. Priscilla, you had a list. Can you go through the list for me? I had that we were, there was a guidance and a foreign language person that was,
Guidance, and we'll have one less guidance, the director of guidance, we're not replacing. There's one foreign language teacher that we're not replacing.
so we're not really cutting them though. They're leaving and we're not replacing them, right?
Right.
Okay.
They are leaving. We will increase they're asking to increase a trainer for athletics. The driver's ed position was there, so that's not an increase, but they are wanting to increase 1/3 health position.
So the one elephant in the room probably is an athletic trainer. I think that any of us that have put kids through this high school and have played sports, that I'm a believer that an athletic trainer is very important for our sports programs. It would probably, Cheshire Med could get rid of one of their occupational therapists because we're not going to be using them anymore, but an athletic trainer is going to be at home games, to be there to help kids, but also be behind the scenes and helping them learn how to stretch right, how to wrap right, how to build their muscles right, so that there aren't so many injuries. And I've asked for this for a few years. I think it's really important. We have some great athletes here, and we're putting some more banners on the wall. But it's really important that we have somebody on staff that can help these kids build the right muscles, do the right stretches, and not get hurt. Jason?
Thanks, Molly. So for me, I want to take the sports part of it out of it, because I feel like that's what I talk a lot about, and I'm not just one-dimensional at all. So if we have a strength and conditioning trainer, it'll help the kids be better physical health, and they will perform better in the classroom. That is a fact. They will also perform better, as far as mentally. And with everything going on in the world, that is huge. At first I wasn't a huge believer in the mental side of things with COVID, but as you see it, and you see it on your own kids, and you see it on all the other kids, just that part of it, I think we're really doing some damage. We don't know what that damage is today or tomorrow. It could be 10 years from now. And having strength and conditioning and fitness, we all know the benefits of that. And, and I know Mr. Barley is for it as well. And then on the other side of it, me as a taxpayer, when any of my kids have a boo-boo or whatever, they get hurt in sports, we're not necessarily running to the coach, because the coach is going to be like, you're out, until you get a doctor's note or whatever. We go get it fixed. You know what I mean? I know enough, or other parents know enough to what to do. But if you had that position on board, that would help save the taxpayers money from going to PT or the hospital. So it's really a win-win. And again, what are we known for here, and how do we get more people to come to this school? We currently have 63 state championship banners in that gym. We're going to get a 64th. They're not JV first place banners. They're not CVL or MVL or whatever BL banners. State championship banners. We are good at athletics. My goal is also to be good at academics. And I'm not going to give up on that. So again, it's good for the mental well-being of the kids. And it's not a lot of money. It's worth it, every penny. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the budget? Deb, are you?
Yeah, I'm having instability with my service. Crappy. Anyway, I don't understand why this is a specialized science now. Maybe I'm too old to think about when gymnasium or athletic teachers did that job for our kids, learning how to stretch and movements and that sort of thing. I don't understand why we need to have a separate trainer to do what generationally used to be done by the teachers who performed gym and health on a regular basis. That's my question. I just don't understand why.
Mr. Broadley, can you speak to that?
I can. We had through grant money, we had a trainer for a while, and I know, looking at many of the other schools in the state and around the country, that a lot rely on a trainer. And as Mr. Terry said, I think when you start looking at the benefits of education and knowledge that kids take with them, confidence, recovery from injury, and how to deal with it, I think the art of sports has become more a science now, and how to learn about the body and how to recover it. And yeah, I do believe that we should still do our stretching and the reasoning why, and the warm up before you go into some heavy physical exercise. But I think that I'm sure that a trainer will just help us so much more. I didn't even think about, possibly the the savings of, you know, community members and whatnot of having to take their kids and go to, you know, go for maybe a session of PT when our trainers are qualified to, you know, be able to instruct them on that. Also, I'd like to have that person maybe visit some classes, like either our health class or our one of our not biology but our anatomy and physiology, where they can help the kids get a greater understanding of their bodies and how they work. And we can't measure the spin-off of the positive mental aspects, but anything we can do right now is certainly going to be helpful for kids being in school and staying in school. And that's all. Again, I look at it as a positive addition to our kids and their learning. And that was why I put it in. And I, as you know, I live in town and I'm a taxpayer as well. So I'm trying to look at it from that perspective too. But that's it. That's the main reasons why I'd like to put it in.
Deb, if I, and I'm going to speak on a couple of things. As having been a former high school varsity coach who did not have an athletic trainer, I did a lot of the taping and working with a kid or trying to diagnose is a kid hurt or not hurt at a game or at a practice. And I don't know if I was ever fully qualified to do all of that. I learned how to do a lot of taping. But I think my experience also in working in schools, but also having kids who played with the school having an athletic trainer, it's much different than a PE coach who is focusing on a curriculum and whatnot. And as John had said, it has changed to the point that an athletic trainer on staff allows, number one, your students, if they have a study hall or during a free time, to see an athletic trainer for minor injuries. Obviously, major injuries, you know, you're going to want to still seek out medical care. But that athletic trainer can diagnose, is that something that needs to be further looked at by an outside health professional, or is it something they can cover with getting some ice on a kid for the day, or something of that nature? With wrapping before a game, some kids need to have an ankle taped or another part taped for a game. They can do it professionally and do it correctly. And then furthermore, having an athletic trainer at an event, if a student is injured, you can have the athletic trainer can be out there and can be tending to that, so that not always are you having to pull an EMT or pull, you know, your school nurse. Like I know at the football game, you know, our school nurse is there, and we know how taxed they are. So having an athletic trainer helps balance that out. So if a kiddo needs like has a need for tape right there, that's the purpose of an athletic trainer. So it has become very different. And that's not to say of your age, Deb, it has changed quite a bit from the days prior of how people would focus on athletic training. So I know Margot's got her hand up also.
Yeah, Margot, go ahead.
I know that it was mentioned, and I unfortunately can't remember all of the details in the beginning, so there's this addition of a athletic trainer, but in the same breath, we're also losing a few positions. I believe it was one full-time language teacher and something else, and I can't remember the something else.
Director of guidance.
Guidance counselor and a foreign language.
Okay, thank you.
John?
Yeah, I just want to add on to what Andy was saying. I also coached, and I think with all the new information on concussions, I coached when we had the athletic trainer and then when we lost the athletic trainer. And as a coach, we do a training through high school NFHS program. It's the same concussion training every year, and my strategy on that is if I saw a kid hit their head, I was going to err so far on the side of caution that kid probably wasn't going to see the field again. And with the athletic trainer there, he could come and he would take the flashlight out and go through the questions and check the eyes. And I had complete confidence that whatever he said, I could either play the kid again, or I had to make a phone call to the parents and let them know. So just from a concussion safety protocol, like the return to play, all that stuff, it makes a huge difference having that person in the building to support the coaches and support the kids. Because I mean, I don't know how much everyone knows about concussions, but if you hit your head hard enough and you have a serious enough concussion, it affects your ability to participate in school for a decent amount of time.
Monica, just one last thing. So just one last thing on that is just the strength part of it is also huge, because kids, as they get older, you know, testosterone and, you know, females, they start to develop and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of kids work the wrong muscles, where the trainer can teach them how to work, you know, the proper muscles, like core muscles, like, you know, if you want to jump higher, what muscles do you actually work to jump higher, which are, you know, all your explosion muscles, or your hip flexors, and there's and to answer what Deb was talking about, you know, back when I was a kid, the stretching was just static stretching, where you just bend over, touch your toes, and count to 10 or whatever. But nowadays they have different types of stretching, where it's called dynamic stretching, where you take a couple steps and you do what's called the Tin Man. You kick your leg up, and it helps stretch your whole back of your leg and your back and your sciatic and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of different things. It is a science, and it's cost effective too. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on budget? Doesn't look like we have any. Thank you. We don't have the date for the next budget meeting, but as soon as we do, Mr. Bradley will get it out. We have a new business for discussion, but I don't think we need that. We've already talked about the trainer, and we've done it in the budget committee meeting and now, so I think we'll just pass by that. The date for the next meeting is December 13th at 6:30 here. And if you have items you'd like on the agenda, please email them to us. And we are down to director's comments. David?
Thank you, Molly. Back on November 17, I sent in a request for an agenda item, which was to please add an item to the next high school agenda called discussion action, called discuss possible censure of board chair. Molly sent me a note back and asked for explanation. And here's the explanation that I gave her. What you are earning $550 a year for, that's $450 plus the chair's stipend, is to listen to what people have to say, irregardless of whether you consider them to be fools, knaves, charlatans, or geniuses. When you walked out on Curtis Reed at the SU meeting, it came across as arrogant. When you walked back in again when he left, it came across as racist, although I don't believe you are intentionally. Whether you like it or not, you are the spokesman for the high school board, but it's probably not a good role for you because you refuse to speak to the press. However, because at this point in time, you are the public face, so to speak, of BFUHS board, I believe that the board needs to make a statement that it should not be judged by your behavior, irregardless of whether it was an impulsive reflex taken in the heat of the moment. Regrettably, because of your careless gesture, I think it's critically important that Bellows Falls Union High School Board take a stand on it. Okay, I wanted to get that out there. And I'm going to tell you that my thinking has actually evolved a little bit since the beginning of this meeting, because I think that Molly's remorse is genuine. And I also think that Molly did propose what I think is a constructive way forward, and that is to have a conversation with John Broadley and Curtis Reed and see how we work our way out of situations like this constructively. So I needed to put that out there. I've put it out there, and I'm at this point going to leave it up to Molly and John to Curtis to work it out. So thank you, Molly.
Margot,
I wasn't able to attend the budget meeting, and I just want to put out there that I hope we consider in the budgeting process. We talked a lot tonight about the athletic trainer. I'm in support of adding an athletic trainer, but it is curious to me that we're losing a language teacher. We're losing a guidance position. Both of these positions are very important in the academic world of the high school. I wonder what the load will be on the remaining guidance counselors. They hold a very important role in the school in guiding our students in whatever endeavors they choose to go into after high school. And that's something that benefits every student. And I just hope that they're not so overloaded that they can't perform their duties to the quality that I know that they are doing it now. And language, that's a tough one because it is a requirement for lots of colleges, at least 2 years. It's definitely a draw for a lot of students if they're able to take a language. And I'm glad that we still have one full-time language teacher, but that limits what we can offer. And we talk a lot about sports. I hope we can continue to think about our academics too. So that's all I have to say.
thank you, Margot. Ian,
I'm good, thanks, Molly.
Deb,
Well, I agree with Margot. I am concerned, and even listening to conversation, the amount of conversation that we spent on sports as opposed to education is concerning, that we are allowing other positions to go flat while we add a trainer. And we talk a lot about our sports, which I'm not saying I'm not proud of all that, but indeed, I would prefer that we make sure that we're educating everyone. And I'm concerned about how the budget is being presented this way. So here's what I had to say. The last thing was I submitted a letter of resignation to the negotiating committee and to the chair of the high school. I still have not heard an answer back. I would like to be replaced, and I am asking that occurs. If not now, at the next high school meeting, because it was not an agenda item, despite the fact that I had sent the letter a few weeks ago. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Deb, I must have missed it. If you sent it to me, I missed it. I did see the one for negotiating, and maybe I just didn't read enough. Is it on the same one?
I'm not sure. I will resend it yes, I'd go find it and resend it.
Yeah,
So
please do so. I'm sorry, I did miss that.
thank you. I will do that.
Sorry to hear that, but I understand completely. Brenda,
I would like to say something. So we are training our students in academics and athletics. I believe we also have the responsibility to train them in leadership and life skills. And I'm concerned when I said we train our kids in academics and athletics, but we also have a responsibility to train them in leadership and life skills. I grew up with cuties and germs and hard knocks and wooden spoon and all those other things. I'm old enough, but also I think that we need to caution ourselves that we don't grow up soft, hypersensitive. And I think also in training leaders, to David and Molly's back and forth, what Molly did was also a form of freedom of protest. She was in a moment of protest. That's part of what we train them in civics. And maybe it wasn't ideal, But it was a time of public comment, not a time of a position. And everybody in the public could make their own decisions and their own thoughts. That's what public comment is. And in regards to training leaders, do we not want to train people of conviction? And I think we're getting so used to coercion now that we don't permit conviction. And that's just my thought in leadership training. That's our perception. We don't always agree. Leaders don't agree. The reason we have a board is because we don't all think the same. And we probably don't always express ourselves ideally, but expression should be allowed. And from that thought, I thought it's not about personal bias or identification, but what lens are we looking at something? Is it a telescope or is it a microscope? I mean, we need to be careful because we're teaching people to live life. And life doesn't come on your own terms, ever. If it did, we'd all be happy. And so that's just my thought. Just wanted to toss out the thought of leadership and life skills.
Thank you. Jason?
Thank you, Molly. You know, I went back and I watched that WNESU meeting, and I appreciate Mr. Reed's passion for the subject and I take all these matters seriously. I think the goal for the meeting and any meeting is the best possible experience for the kids with kind, thoughtful comments by all parties with careful deliberation and delivery that will help get to a better end. Hopefully, Mr. Reed will aid us in our goal of kind, thoughtful goals. I mean, after all, we all have similar goals, don't we? Thank you.
Priscilla?
We're all overwhelmed, board members, administration, and staff. Everybody's working to their capacity or above. I've heard several board members, at least 5 in the last 2 weeks, talk about resigning. I just heard Deb put it in words again. I hope she reconsiders because I think she's a valuable member of this board and a valuable member of the committees that she's on. I felt bad for Molly the other night and all the pressure that has come from one board member on this issue. Her statement should have been enough. It should have been left at that. Since it was not, I'm commenting as well. The speech, whether meaning to or not meaning to, our visitor at that board meeting disparaged our teams, our community, our schools, because he did not have the full knowledge of where we stand, what our teachers do, and all of the valuable lessons that they teach our students. We saw that in them being recognized, our football team for good sportsmanship, our coach for being selected Division II coach. Calling people names at a board meeting is not appropriate. And I really feel that if he can come to terms and discuss that with Molly and our school in a different format, then it might be appropriate and really good for both sides. But to disparage Molly at this meeting was inappropriate as well. She is really trying, she's working hard. She did a speech at the beginning of the meeting, and like I said, that should have been enough. Public comments are supposed to be allowed and listened to, but she was not paid to sit there and listen to, as was just implied. None of us get a stipend for sitting at the SU board meetings. So that's another thing that really has been put out there and should be brought to terms, because she gets nothing for it. We should do it differently at this point, maybe. But hindsight's always wonderful. We can all do things better. We can all work hard to achieve our goals. our goal here as a board is to be here to do our best to determine policies, look at our financial responsibilities to our school and to our community, and to support our administration and our students. If we can do that, then we're doing our job. Thank you.
Thank you. There is no executive session. I call this meeting of the Bellas Falls Union High School Board adjourned.